Hello, my name is Brendan Thomas, and I'm here to introduce to you kimchi. Kimchi is a Korean dish, usually a side dish. Now, kimchi itself means fermented vegetables in Korean, and it is the national dish of North and South Korea. Usually, it's a side dish. You can also use it as a topping for on top of rice or ramen, different things like that. But that spicy, vinegary, fermented vegetable taste not only is wonderful for getting your nutrients, it's perfect for storing long amounts of time. And for some of the more poor areas, specifically in North Korea, this was a staple. Kimchi was very popular and a necessity for survival. Now, the kimchi that I have here is probably the most standard. Using chili powder, ginger, garlic, it gives off a hot, spicy kind of taste to it. But not all kimchi is like this. You can have clear white kimchi. You could have kind of a soupy kimchi with a broth, and there are other cultures that have explored kimchi, and there's one known as got kimchi that's made with an Indian mustard. So there's all kinds of varieties, all kinds. Now, before we go into making kimchi, give you an idea of its history, which does go back a long ways, all the way back to 32 BC, with the history of the three kingdoms of Korea. Now, the reason it has such a far back history is because it's so simple to make. You basically create a saltwater bath, place your vegetable inside, one of the most popular being that of Napa cabbage. We'll show you in a moment. But after fermenting the vegetables themselves, you would go in to add the spices or create the paste, which usually comes with that chili powder, garlic, ginger, whatever. And it is so easy. You chop it up, you ferment it for a little bit, an hour and a half, then you mix all the paste together, and finally you leave it in a sealed jar for about a week to 2 weeks. By that point it is edible, but you can continue to store it for up to 3 to 5 months, making it wonderful for getting that nutrition that you need in the cold months, even in the hot summer months, where some places in North Korea, they would bury the kimchi underneath the ground to keep it cool, and because the salt would naturally preserve it, it was good all summer, and you didn't need to worry about storing vegetables or going out continuously. Now, there are many, many different varieties of kimchi. As I explained before, the Indian kind, the soupy kind, just in general, they are all kimchi, but differentiate based on the type of vegetable used, whether or not there is an inclusion of chili powder, and other aspects. Some examples include bachu kimchi, which is the traditional Napa cabbage chili powder kimchi. There's also bak kimchi, which is a white kimchi with no chili powder. It's clear. It's a very different appearance. Dong chimmi, I'll say that again, dong chimmi, not kimchi, is still a kimchi, but non-spicy. It doesn't have the chili powder. It's a watery kimchi. It's more of a soup. And yeah, you have pa kimchi, a spicy green onion kimchi, and just so many other varieties based on how watery you want it, how spicy you'd like it, what kind of vegetables you're using, which I'll bring to a point. The most popular, as I said before, is Napa cabbage, shown right here, and traditionally Korean radishes, which Americans may not be familiar with. These are huge radishes. We're used to the very small red ones, but these can be used for an extensive amount of food. It's very good, very good. And while we're showing you this, yes, some of the basic ingredients that we have here: garlic, ginger, salt, a little bit of sugar, depending on what you're doing, and for that spiciness, we have the chili powder, of course. Of course. So, coincidentally, these modern staples of kimchi with the spicy chili powder and the Napa cabbage are recent entries. Back in 32 BC, before chilies were even introduced to North Korea, that waited until the 17th century. But yes, all the way back then it was primarily white, clear, salty kimchi. But that spiciness was introduced later as well. The Napa cabbage was not introduced until the 19th century. So they used a lot more of the Korean radish and other forms of cabbage that, unfortunately, based on history, was soggier than the Napa cabbage they adopted today. Now, I will give you a general idea of how the kimchi is made. You know that it ferments, it sits there, but on a basic level. You take the primary cabbage, the vegetable that you want, and you're going to keep it in a saltwater bath for an hour to 2 hours. That's the first step. If you do it any longer than that, it may get a little soggy. After that, you're going to want to drain the vegetables, dry them out, but keep that saltwater brine. That's very important. That's going to be used very soon. Once you have the brine to the side, you have your cabbage to the side, you're going to want to make your paste if you want a spicy, kind of flavorful kimchi, based on the ingredients that you have. And yes, garlic, ginger, sugar, fish sauce, the chili pepper, all of that put together, mushed up, and then combined with the cabbage. After that, simply put, place the entire mixture into a mason jar or some kind of jar with a lid, add the brine, and then you're looking at about 5 days of fermentation. After that, it should be good to eat, but you'll want to wait another 2 weeks or so to get that full flavor. And then, as long as the brine itself doesn't bubble, doesn't fizz up, it should be good for about 3 to 5 months in refrigeration. So, that's the gist of it. Kimchi is a wonderful dish to be used, especially when you lack the nutrients over a long period of time. It can be stored very easily, even without refrigeration. So, naturally, it was a staple for many poor aspects of Northern Korea specifically, where they were able to bury it for months at a time. A staple food, delicious, been transferred all over the world, including here in NYC. You can find it almost any Korean shop.